that you are forsaken, no one loves you, no one cares about you. That's a lie. Stop believing the lie. Believe the truth. The truth is you are loved and you are special. And what you went through it for a reason. And as my sister said, awesome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Inspiring Beauty and Believers. I am Song, and today we are going to continue our talk about the importance of self-care and how it can help us to heal from parental abandonment issues. So today my guest is Miss Diane. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Chantel. Thank you so much for having me on your platform.
You are very welcome. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Sure. Again, my name is Diane Stevens Smith, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified substance abuse counselor, batterers intervention specialist, and I currently work as an outpatient clinical therapist. I specialize in trauma-informed therapy, mood disorders that include anxiety, depression, as well as substance abuse disorders. I'm just grateful to be able to give back based off of my trauma past. My trauma past has equipped me to doing what I do now. So I'm just grateful to be used.
Awesome. I think that's very important. I think a lot of times when people have gone through things in their past, and then they've allowed themselves to heal from that we have to go back in and help other people with that. Because I know when I was growing up and as I became an adult, one of the things, and I was actually sharing it with someone yesterday, one of my family members, that I remember, I think I was about 18 years old, and I walked into this church, and it's a long story, but I walked into this church and the pastor said, the things that you have gone through, God allowed you to go through it because he knew you'd be strong enough to handle it so that you could help other people to overcome it. And at that time, I did not want to hear that. But now looking back almost 15 years or so, it definitely has allowed me to, as I have gone through my own healing process, to go back and help other people. And so that's what we're doing today. So
yes, absolutely.
I'm excited about it.
Yes, me too.
So going into what we want to discuss today, can you, from a professional standpoint, help us to understand really how parental abandonment affects our brain, our emotions, and our development?
Absolutely. Parental abandonment is not just something that I've read or studied. This is something I've lived through. As a child abandoned by my father, and not only just abandoned, but rejected even. So this is a topic I know oh so well, personally as well as professionally. Parental abandonment is not just a parent or a guardian that's deserting their child from their, from physically, from the health and safety and welfare of that child. But additionally, parental abandonment is the forsaking of that child's holistic well-being, which involves not just the physical, and also may impair their mental, emotional, spiritual, and social development. So parental abandonment is, it's very traumatic, or can be very traumatic for a child, and effects of such psychological trauma can be long and even lifetime lasting, of course, if not properly addressed. And so I'm grateful that we're talking about this, because so many people right now, as adults, are still suffering from the effects of that parental abandonment. The psychological effects of such trauma can manifest in various ways, whether developing low self-esteem, which was one of my personal issues, growing up not feeling good enough. And of course, if that parent doesn't want you, then you grow up with this complex that no one's going to want you, and you're just not good enough for anything. of course, then it can also manifest in, phobias, fears, anxieties, social anxiety, anxiety or worrying about your future and what that's going to look like. Fear of the reoccurrence of such trauma experiences. You were abandoned by your parents, so another loved one may abandon your husband, or a significant other or whomever may abandon you as well. So that will cause for certain unhealthy or maladaptive behaviors when you live with these fears or phobias. These are symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which can manifest with nightmares in children, hypersensitivity, and hypervigilance as well. The manifestations of these fears I can go on and on with those, but some of the signs of parental abandonment can include, and I'm going to kind of give some of the top signs that we can see with people, but there are so many more than what we're going to discuss today. Right. We probably won't have enough time to discuss every manifestation of it, but I'll give a few. The inability to trust.
Yes.
That's a huge one right there. And again, I know that one also well, not being able to trust others. That they kind of go hand in hand with the low self-esteem, pushing other people away because you don't trust them, which is, it causes all kinds of social impairments for that person. And then on the opposite end of that same spectrum is they're being very clingy, or that codependent behavior that we sometimes see. And so, like I said, it's on that same spectrum, but on the opposite end. So versus pushing people away, you do all you can to cling on to people. That's when the people-pleasing behaviors come out. You overgive of yourself to where it now turns into toxic situations, toxic and unhealthy relationships where you're giving way more in this relationship, and the other person is just sucking and taking and you're continuing to exert your energy and time and even resources, in the relationship, which is very unhealthy.
Right.
And with people having difficulty being alone, it can also cause, a lot of insecurities within that person, not even just with the romantic relationships, with just relationships, period, whether with your family members or friends. You can see this with individuals who have a hard time maintaining friendships. With individuals, those relationships quickly become toxic, because then now you are self-sabotaging.
Right.
Because you're constantly thinking negative thoughts about the relationship based off of your trauma past.
Right. And sometimes people don't even realize that that's what they're doing. They see things that in the relationship with a person, they're like, well, I don't like that you're doing this to me, but it's really a trigger from something that happened in their childhood that they didn't deal with. And so they will push that person away. And it's very interesting. And I think because sometimes I think people confuse the being an introvert with just having issues being able to have relationships with people. So some people say, well, I'm just an introvert, I don't deal with people. No, you just don't know how to maintain a relationship, a healthy relationship. So you just stay away from people altogether because you're afraid.
Yes, that is absolutely right. You made a great point there, because I believe that is the case a lot of times, more so than not, especially with Black females.
Mm-hmm.
Females in general, but especially us.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught a certain way and how to be, and we have to be strong and all of that, and like you said, it can be masked as, I'm just introverted. This is just how I am.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an underlying causation of this,
Mm-hmm.
that we often don't address or look at.
Right.
And if we were to peel back some of the layers, then we'll see that there's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So, these insecurities will surface and increase and even strengthen. They will become solidified as a part of our personality even. And that can turn into personality disorders of various kinds, whether bipolar or what have you, and different phobias. And then you have a manifestation of the neediness, just not wanting to be alone and always feeling very needy,
Mm-hmm.
needing that reassurance constantly from other people. Of course, we got the people pleasing, but then we have, I need for you to tell me you love me every
Right.
day or constantly, or I need for you to be here. Disallowing that person, the other person, the significant other, to be themselves and to
Mm-hmm.
live their full life. And so not only are you sabotaging yourself, but you are also sabotaging for others.
Right.
And it becomes very, very toxic. Sometimes this can play out with not having or having a lack of emotional intimacy
Mm-hmm.
with individuals, where, like we talked about a minute ago, pushing people away, but then you keep yourself from getting close or allowing other people close to you because there's a fear. You don't want to get deeply involved with people. There's a fear that if you do, they're going to hurt you as well.
Right.
And so you see individuals, especially at church, and I'm very in tune and key to people who are hurting. I guess what you call an empath. I can kind of sense and feel when people are hurting, although they may not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this is what I've lived, and so I can recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And at church, you see people that will come in and they will leave. They won't get involved in anything. They don't stay for fellowship after services, and they're out of there. They know that they need to be there and they want it and all of that, but they just don't want the closeness or relationships.
Right.
They don't want the relationships with people.
It kind of reminds me of like someone standing outside of a window of a restaurant or something, watching other people enjoy, wishing they had it, but they're just afraid to take that step in because of fear of rejection.
Yes, fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And it can snowball into something greater. It can worsen quickly if not addressed. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the manifestations, but again, there are many, many more maladaptive manifestations of these abandonment issues.
Right. Like you said, there are a lot of abandonment issues that, we just would run out of time trying to cover all of those today. And especially in the African American community, because we weren't ever taught any of these things, taught, how to deal with this, or you were shamed if you even came out and said that you had any kind of mental health issue. But, so you can't say that you're sad. You're looked at as being sensitive or something's wrong with you if you cry. So we just internalize everything, especially, for our men. I had a conversation with my son just like 2 days ago, and I was talking to him about, how he felt about certain things and not having his dad around. And he mentioned, well, sometimes as a boy, you're told not to be sensitive. So he was like, so having a dad would help me not to be sensitive. And I was like,
Wow.
but you need to, it's okay. And this is not the first time he's mentioned this. He was like, I just, because men don't cry. And I was like, I don't want you to even get this into
Wow.
your mind that it's okay for you to just be so hard that you never cry, you never show emotion about anything, because that's not healthy. That's what
Right.
we've told men, and it's just not just Black men, all men have been told for years, decades, don't
Yeah.
cry about when you're a little boy, you don't cry, you need to be strong. And then they grow up and they suppress all of their emotions, and they don't know how to deal with that stuff. And that's part of a
Absolutely.
parental abandonment issue as well. So.
Absolutely, absolutely, especially in our culture, our African American culture. The men are taught to be strong and to just suck it up, be a man. We hear our mothers and just people in general in our culture tell our little boys, get up from there. Stop crying. Don't be sensitive. And we're doing them a disservice because we're teaching them to become robotic. And it's going to come out in some shape or form. We do one of two things. We either implode or we explode. And so sometimes with the explosion, it comes out with these angry outbursts. These acting out behaviors that we hear about kids in school or what have you. They're angry. It comes out in social issues. The imploding, you're self-sabotaging, you're feeling low about yourself, you're feeling insecure, you won't allow others close to you, so we do one or two things. We're when you implode, you're suffering in silence. No one knows. The shell of you appears that everything is in control, but inside you're like a shaken soda can, just waiting to explode. And we teach our children to become robots. We're human. We have feelings, and I'm glad that we're discussing this because it's a super important topic, not just for our culture, for everyone, to know that you can be human. It's okay to feel. God gave us emotions for a reason. We're not robots. Jesus wept. And so if he can weep, we can as well. It's okay. The problem comes in where we ruminate over the negative too long. Of course, negative is going to occur. Of course, we're in this dark world. So we're going to have negative experiences. But it's how you deal with them and be able to move on quicker. Address them. Name them. Because if you don't get control of these thoughts and these emotions, guess what? They're going to control you. Yes. So something has to be in control. It's just like energy. Energy does not dissipate. It shifts. So either I'm going to be in control of them, or they're going to control me. So make a decision, make a choice. What do you want to do with that energy?
Right. Exactly. That's so good. So now we're gonna shift over to, I like the shift. We're gonna shift over into how can we utilize self-care, since this is Self-Care Awareness Month. How can we utilize this self-care in order to help us to overcome these things?
Absolutely. So, self-care in a nutshell is caring for self. We have to care for self. Self-care is actually the foundation of healthcare. Although it's outside of the formal health and social care systems, it's essential for our overall health. It's the initial component to that healthcare pyramid. If you think about a pyramid, self-care is the foundation of that. Because without first seeing to your own health needs, you can't address the next component. The next component would be the primary care, which would include your immediate family members' needs, such as your children and your spouse, And then there's the secondary care, which is extended family and friends, and tertiary at the top, where, that's everyone else and other responsibilities. But in a nutshell, self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's health. The practice of taking active roles and protecting one's own well-being and happiness. So we want to address some of these things by what I call as the 7 pillars of self-care. And number 1, the first pillar is the knowledge and health literacy. So the knowledge is understanding and knowing that we have to see to our health, whether it's the physical health, mental health, but we have to know that it has to be addressed. We can't just live and just continue to live without seeing to our health. So that would include going to the doctor, getting those regular checkups. Often the effects of trauma can manifest physiologically. Now, we talked about some of the psychological effects, but it can also manifest physiologically, causing physical ailments and illnesses that would require medical attention. So that first pillar is that knowledge and health literacy. The second pillar would be the mental well-being.
Before you go into that, I just want to drop this little nugget. I don't know how many people know this, but cancer it's been scientifically proven that cancer stems from unforgiveness inside of you. So a lot of people who are dealing with cancer in their body, it's that stress and that unforgiveness, that bitterness that you're holding on to, it's starting to manifest, just like she said, inside of your body, and it's creating sickness in you. And they have done studies that show, like, when people started forgiving, the cancer started healing, their body started healing themselves. So I'm just throw that out there, because there are a lot of people looking for cures to cancer, and it's already on the inside of you.
Come on, sis. And that is super, that's so super powerful what you just said. You are that last part, what you just said right there. If we could just stay on that for 1 second, just 1 second. You said we already have what we need. This is what I'm hearing. We already have what we need to heal ourselves, which is so true. And that's one of the things that I talk to my clients about. I'm not giving you anything that you don't already have. You don't already possess. When God created these beautiful bodies of ours, our minds, he said that we were beautifully and wonderfully made, which means that we come packaged with every component, everything that we need to heal ourselves if we utilize those components. There are tools to make it through this dark world. He gave us everything we need. It's just like a seed. And I wasn't going to talk about the seed, but I'm so interested in seeds. If you really look at the study and what seeds are, seeds come with a shell, but then it also comes with an embryo that has its own food source. Seeds can actually live on its own without being planted for years.
Yes, yep.
And we're the human seed. So he gave us everything we need to heal, to rejuvenate, and all, but we just have to tap into it. And so sometimes we just need assistance, whether it's talking to a therapist, talking to a friend, talking to someone who's non-judgmental, non-biased, to bring out, to highlight those strengths that's in us, so that we can move on and we can heal from our past. So that is beautiful, what you just highlighted.
Yes.
So that second component is the mental health well-being. And, like I said, just as your physical health, it's imperative to also see to our mental health, because that right there, if you don't see to your mental health, that will cause all kinds of problems in your body, not just physiologically, socially, on every level. So we have to also have that knowledge to know that this also has to be addressed. We have to see to that. Talking to a professional, talking to someone, and also setting healthy boundaries is super important to your mental health. set healthy boundaries in these relationships, whether it's with your family, your friends, your whomever. We have to set these healthy boundaries, because boundaries teach people how to treat you, but it also keeps you safe. It's a two-way street. I wouldn't have my neighbor build my own fence around my house. I wouldn't have my neighbor do that. I would build my own fence around my house. So, if you think about boundaries, those are your fences. So, because my neighbor may not give me all my territory if I allow him to build my fence.
Yes, because he's going to give what's good for him.
Exactly. And oftentimes in relationships, that's how it is, and people overtake. That's because we allow them. We haven't set a boundary there. And then it starts to manifest in all of these maladaptive, unhealthy ways of thinking. And we develop these thought patterns that we carry over from relationship to relationship. And it's all based off of our trauma past, because our trauma taught us, I have to seclude myself from others. It teaches me that I have to just build this shell around me. But you're thinking that you're protecting yourself, but actually that shell becomes your prison. So, and it's not protection, it's prison. It's the wrong P. So we have to really get ourselves together and decide to be well. It's a decision. It's a choice. Decide to be well, because we were already equipped with everything we need, but now we just need to utilize those tools. So also a part of that second pillar of mental health is spending time with positive people. Spend time and disallow a lot of negativity around you. We all know people who constantly complain about everything. And there's a difference between complaining and venting. One would denote that when you're venting, you're trying to release something. Whereas when you're complaining, you're not trying to release. It's almost like you're trying to hold on to it too tight. And so there's a difference between the two. And if it causes for you to feel heavy and feel weighed down and your energy sucked away from you, then it's unhealthy. And we got to come away from it. So make a decision, make a choice to be around people who pour into you, because we sometimes pour and pour more into other people, and then we find ourselves pouring from an empty cup. Right. And we have nothing left for ourselves. So, we have to pour into ourselves, affirming ourselves, being around people who are positive, reading things that are life enhancing and beneficial, to keep our mental health well. Right. Then we have our physical activity, which is our third pillar. We need to become physically active. These bodies were not made to just be still. We're not rocks. Yes. Even a tree moves, a tree sways, so God made us to move. And when you move, our blood is flowing better. And when your blood flows, then your brain is able to have the oxygen it needs to think better and to heal better. When that oxygen is flowing, because the blood is the travel source of the oxygen and the nutrients that you need for your brain. So physical activity also plays a major role in healing from trauma. So staying active, walking, cycling, getting involved in a sport of some sort, just being intentional about activity and movement. Also, and what that will do also will be, it will reconstruct your thinking patterns over time, because it will redirect your focus. When you're physically active, then you are more focused on that activity. So you want to make sure that your activities are a positive, constructive distraction. Because we can be distracted by anything. We could be distracted by negative things, but it's an intentional, positive, constructive distraction.
Right.
And over time, the more you practice that, it will reconstruct your thought pattern.
I have
So we want
heard
to be
that it releases endorphins in your brain too when you're doing that, the exercise.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, with that physical component too, we want to get adequate rest.
Yes.
Because that's how our brains rejuvenate, is through rest. We need rest. He rested on the seventh day.
Yes. And if God rests, then everybody needs to rest.
Amen. That is correct. Because he's God. Now, you would think, okay, rest for God? So even more so for us. But he was teaching us something. That's what he was doing. We need to be rejuvenated. And also having time in the sun. S-U-N and S-O-N.
Yes, both of the suns.
We need time in the sun because the sun provides vitamin D. And studies have shown that if you're deficient in vitamin D, you're more prone to depression. So we need the sun, most definitely. Then there's the fourth pillar is healthy eating, nutrition. Healthy nutrition is super important to our mental health as well. A lot of people would think that it's mainly important just for your physical health, but we are mind, body, and spirit. We're all one. And what affects one area affects them all. It's just not a separate entity. It affects them all. So having that nutritional component and being intentional about a balanced diet is super important. Ensuring iron, you need an efficient, healthy level of iron in your blood that provides that oxygen as well. And as I spoke on the vitamin D and even calcium, a lot of people don't realize that calcium is not just for the health of your bones, but also your brain.
Right.
And it's super important to our thinking.
Yes. I'm going to have to increase my calcium intake.
Yes. So, like I said, if you're deficient in especially those areas with iron, vitamin D, and calcium, you're more prone to depression. And especially in women, because we have that monthly aunt that comes to visit us.
Yes.
And we lose so much through it. We have to replenish, and we have to really be intentional about replenishing that. Drinking water. I can't speak enough on water. I can do a whole series on water, but I won't. But water is super important for us to have an adequate amount daily. That will also help with your thinking. You will find over time, the more you drink water and you're hydrated, your ability to repair, your mind's ability, your brain's ability to repair itself would be more enhanced. That fifth pillar is risk avoidance or mitigation, which includes coming away from those things that are unhealthy, such as tobacco use, excessive alcoholic beverages, making sure that you are keeping healthy practices such as safe sex if you are not in a marriage or marital situation, and your medication. If you are prescribed certain medications that help to keep you balanced, then you need to make sure to take them on a regular basis.
Yes.
And that will help to mitigate the exacerbation of any existing issues or prevent some from occurring.
Yeah.
And then our sixth pillar is good hygiene.
Mhm.
You're like, okay,
That's
hygiene.
interesting. Yes. I mean, good hygiene is important, but yes.
Absolutely. If you think about our transient community, the homeless, um, a lot of them won't keep good hygiene. They don't practice good hygiene,
Mhm.
and they go together. The
Mhm.
mind and the body are together.
Mhm.
And so keeping good hygiene is also going to keep you balanced mentally as well, because when you are clean and you tend to feel better.
Yes.
When you
A good
smell good,
shower will make you feel better.
when you're smelling good and looking good, you feel good. They go
Mhm.
together. They intertwine. So us ladies, when we put on our best dress and our hair is done and our face is beat, if you do that, all of
Mhm.
that, you feel good.
Mhm.
And it plays a part on your mentality.
Mhm.
You tend to stand up a little straighter, your neck is a little more high, your chin is up, and you,
Mhm.
you speak with more authority because you're more
Mhm.
assured.
Yes.
So hygiene is super important. And we know that, individuals that suffer with depression tend not to see to their hygiene as readily.
Right.
They will lay in the bed all day for days, sometimes without showering,
Mhm.
all of that. And it only exacerbates that issue.
Right.
It worsens. So we want to see to that. And then that last pillar, the seventh pillar, is rational and responsible use of products, services, and medicines.
Mhm.
So you want to be aware of the dangers of using or misusing certain products or medications. This is your substance abuses.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're prescribed opiates because maybe we had a surgical procedure or what have you, and then we overuse it or we continue to use past what was prescribed or how it was prescribed to us.
Right.
And that can cause other issues. So we want to make sure that we're being responsible because even good things that are good for you, can be misused.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we're being responsible even in that aspect, in that area. So these are, your seven pillars of self-care, and with intentional awareness and deliberate practice of such self-care principles, you are more than equipped to overcome trauma, to include the effects of your parental abandonment issues.
I love that. And I had never thought about all of those in that way, but I do, because when you mentioned the hygiene, I was like, yeah, hygiene is very good. But then when I started thinking about it, when you were talking about, yeah, after I take a shower and I get all fresh and stuff, I do feel like my mind is like in a whole nother space. Like, this is great. I feel
Yeah.
nice. And one of my favorite things to do is to go to the spa and just like relax. And it puts my brain at ease, and then decluttering my house. When I go through and start getting, if I have a lot on my mind, I will go through and start clearing stuff out of my house, and it helps me to clear my mind.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Environment makes a huge difference in how we feel.
Yes.
Environment is everything, not just your physical environment, but your spiritual environment as well, who you have around you, the
Mhm.
energy, all of that makes a difference in how you feel.
Yes, like how when you were talking about being an empath, and it's so funny because this is probably like the third or fourth day in a row that I have heard that specific word. Like, I was having a
Wow.
conversation yesterday about it, and then I was having a conversation with another friend about it prior to that, and it's because you can pick up on what other people are going through, especially if you're sensitive to that. And I know some people say don't be sensitive, but sometimes in your spirit you can pick up what other people is going through. So it's very important who you have around you, because
Yes.
if you're picking up on what they're going through, and then you're trying to carry the weight of the world with you. I remember when I worked in behavioral health for 3 years, and one of the things my pastor told me to make sure I didn't do, he was like, when you are working, do not carry the cares of all of your patients with you. You have to cast that on God, because it will burden you.
Come on.
And that was one of the reasons why I ended up leaving, because I had one person and it was just so emotional. And they ended up committing suicide, and I just could not, I was so heartbroken. Like, how come I couldn't help them? How come I couldn't, see that they were in this much pain and, fix it for them? And it's not your job to fix people. That's important. Right. Stop trying to fix other people.
Come on.
Work on yourself. God didn't tell us to fix everybody else.
Don't look at the mote in that other person's eye when the beam is standing out of yours.
Exactly. Let's work on these beams.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very interesting topic, and relevant for this time too, because with the pandemic that we are experiencing right now, you're seeing a lot of past issues even come to surface right now. I have some clients that felt that they were okay, although they've been through a lot in their past. They were okay prior to this pandemic, and since the pandemic, things have been unearthed. They've come to surface now, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is something that I didn't think that bothered. I didn't think that it bothered me, but now it's starting to manifest in unhealthy ways in relationships. Right. So, this is super great that, you're doing this right now, and hoping and praying that it will help many people.
I am too. Thank you so much. And before we finish, I wanted you to share with everybody about your book, because I think it's going to be a blessing to a lot of people.
Yes, I've prayed on it, and I know that it will be. I have a book out that's called Fear is a Liar, and this is my book, Fear is a Liar, and I created the cover, and it's a ball of anxiety, and inside that ball of anxiety comes with a whole lot of stuff, feeling lonely or misunderstood, and so many other things. But the book is a 21-day guide to overcoming anxiety. It's a mental health perspective and spiritual guide. And so at the end of each chapter, I have an introspective section for you to look at yourself and see what areas that you need to change, see what's happening, really identify those things that are unhealthy, that's not propelling you forward, but instead keeping you stagnant. And because we know anxiety is about the future, about the fear of the future and things ahead, and whatever it is that is keeping you stagnant, you need to look at those things, pull it apart, try to figure out the causation, the underlying issue, so that you can move on and be the best version of yourself. And so that's what this book will help with. And I have, it's also a daily devotional, because I have in each chapter a relevant scripture that coincides with that chapter's topic. So it's something that you can meditate on, you can study, and I believe it's going to be a blessing for many.
Yes, I'm excited about that. So where can they get the book from?
You can get it on Amazon, and my name is Diane Stevens Smith, and it's STEPHENS-Smith. And you'll notice that there are a couple of other books that's called Fear is a Liar, but it's not mine. Mine is the only one that's white. It has the white cover with the ball of anxiety on the cover. You can also email me with your information, and I can send you a PayPal invoice for you to pay from, and I will send the book to you directly. My email address is madewonderfully, MADEWONDRFULLY 20 @gmail.com.
I will definitely put all of that information in the description box below so that you can get in contact with her. Is there any last words that you would share with any of our viewers on the importance of healthcare, self-care, overcoming parental abandonment? Any last words that you want to share?
Yes, ma'am. I just pray that this discussion today will provide someone hope. As we talked about in this discussion, anything can be overcome. God has already equipped us with everything that we need. And I just encourage you to seek help. If you feel like you can't do this on your own, seek help from others, someone that you trust. Talk to someone. And it has amazing effect when you just talk it out. And as my sister just mentioned, therapists aren't to fix others. We're here to help you. What we do is we highlight issues. We highlight things. I act as a flashlight or a mirror. So sometimes I put that flashlight in those dark areas for you to clean away. I don't clean them away. You clean them away. Or I put the mirror up before you so that you see what needs to change in your life. So that's all a therapist is supposed to do. No one is going to fix you. You have to fix you. So take control of your life. You fix you.
Yes.
But above all, God is our ever-present help. He promised us that he would never leave nor forsake. So whether you were forsaken by a parent, a loved one, or whomever, know that you are not forsaken. You are not completely forsaken. That's a lie from the enemy. That's a lie that the enemy tries to whisper in your ear, that you are forsaken. No one loves you. No one cares about you. That's a lie. Stop believing the lie. Believe the truth. The truth is you are loved and you are special. And what you went through it for a reason. And as my sister said earlier on, it's because you have a story. Your testimony is going to be your story to help other people. You went through this because God knew that you were strong enough to handle it. Yes. So bear it so that you can get through into the next level, because he's leveling you up. The more you go through, that's just a level up for the next stage. That's all it is. And God is going to take care of you along your journey. What he brings you to, he brings you through. And don't look at getting over something. We're going to get through it, which means you're going to feel it. Because sometimes you're going to feel the pain, but the pain is necessary because that reminds you, that keeps you humble. It reminds you of that hurt and that pain that you went through so that you can help others and be empathetic to others. Because without that pain, you can't really give that empathetic response to another person. You can't without the pain. So embrace that for the moment. But it's temporary because God is going to bring you through. And I just challenge you all to seek help.
Girl, you over here preaching. I'm trying to stay calm. My mama in the back talking about amen.
God is good.
Yes, that is so good. So I thank you for your time today, Miss Diane. Definitely go and get her book. It's going to be a blessing to you guys. Thank you for continuing with us on this journey of healing and overcoming parental abandonment and working on that self-care. Even if you may not understand, and we went through a lot, we talked about a lot today about those triggers. So go back and watch the video again. I hope you were taking notes so that you can really evaluate yourself and say, are these some of the triggers? Are these some of the things that I may be doing in my life? And then find the root of that issue and go seek help. Get that person who's going to be that flashlight in your life or that mirror to help you to deal with these issues so you can overcome them, you guys, because we need, especially in this time, to come out of this. Once this pandemic is over, we should be able to come out and be healed and whole and walking in our full purpose. This is a time where things are, like she mentioned, things are being uprooted and they're being revealed to us so that we can go and get this healing, not so that we can implode or explode and then just never deal with this stuff.
Yes.
So let's deal with this stuff.
Yes. Yes.
You guys so much. I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.